Okay, so when I open up 8.1, my directions tell me that I have a partial worksheet of Darlene's delivery service for the month ended July 31st of the current year. Also given in the journal on the ledger accounts. The general ledger accounts do not show details for the fiscal period. The balance shown in each account is the account's balance before adjusting entries are posted, and I'm going to guide you to the following example. It says use page 4 of the journal and journalize and post the adjusting entries. That's an important aspect right there, is it said use page 4 of the journal. Anytime you're journalizing, you're adjusting entries, a couple different things are going to happen. You always start with a new page. You never put your adjusting entries on a page that you posted for a month of transactions. So at the end of the fiscal period, you're like, all right, all done. Your last month is totaled and it equals. Then you're going to go ahead and do a new page for adjusting entries. Here's another thing that's going to happen for adjusting entries. You don't have any source documents. You don't have a check number. You don't have a memorandum. You don't have a purchase invoice. You don't have any of that. So we know we got to have some way of going back and proving this. So basically, what do we do when we do our adjusting entries? On the very top of our journal, I put a heading and I say adjusting entries. And then anything below that, we know we got the information for our adjusting entries because they are adjusting entries. I don't need to look for a specific source document. So right here on the directions for 8.1, you can see they show us our partial worksheet. And you will also notice in Applia, when they give us this one, they have our adjusting entries have A's and B's. A's need to go first. I also asked you to write A's and B's when you went through and did the worksheet online using Google Sheets, because the first transaction you record with an A, second with B. You can't physically do that in Applia, but I asked you to do it on Sheets. And coming up within a week, you're going to be going through and doing part 2 of that reinforcement activity, and you're going to need to be able to do that when you write it out as well. Okay? So what I need to do right now is I'm like, okay, my assignment right now is to journalize adjusting entries, page 4 of the journal. So I'm going to go ahead and right here on page 4 of the journal, I'm going to write centered here, adjusting entries. That then says, okay, it's fine that we don't have any source documents here. All of our adjusting entries are recorded on the last day of the fiscal period. So what's the last day of our fiscal period? July 31st. Each adjusting entry gets its own date. So we have 2 adjusting entries. We have one for supplies and one for insurance. So I'm going to have 2 dates on there. I don't put a date for each one, just for each matching debit and credit. So when I look at letter A, what account's being debited? Supplies expense. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put in supplies expense. And then supplies expense is going to be debited $713. And then supplies is going to be credited. Would you agree? Now, I'm going to do my next adjusting entry, which is going to be to insurance, right? So I'm going to put the date of the 31st, and I'm going to do insurance expense for $300. Then I'm going to do prepaid insurance for $300. That's how you journalize it. Pretty easy, like that? Now we just need to post. And we know how to post. This is not something new. So I'm going to go in my very first line here. I'm going to find supplies expense. Supplies expense does not have anything in it yet. So I have to put my month and my day. My post reference is what? 4. Why 4? That's the page number. And supplies expense is being debited $713. So I take this $713 here and I put it there. I don't make my matching debits and credits equal. I just really take it from my journal and put it on my ledger. So the individual amount of the transaction here is $713. My previous balance in supplies expense was what? Before I did any of this, my balance was 0. So if I have 0 and I debit it $713, what's my new balance? $713 as a debit. My last step is to put account number 540 up here, and I can't say this enough. Do not go through and fill in all these numbers and then post. Your last step Your last step is always this account number back here. The procedure on how you do it is more important that you get it done because you need to know where did you leave off. Okay? So my next one here is I'm going to go through and do supplies. You have to go on these little dots. Try making your screen a little smaller. Control, zoom, control, and your wheel down. It's your very last one. Move up a little bit. When you get to supplies, I'll help you in just a moment. Okay. You're going to do the same thing, but when I get to supplies, I'm not going to debit it. I'm going to credit it 713. But supplies, bing, bing, bing. Marissa, please put your phone away. Already has a debit balance. It has a debit balance of 963, and I just credited it 713. Do not take 713 and put it here as a credit. That is not correct. I have a debit balance of 963, and I'm crediting it 713. So what is my balance? 250 as a debit. My last step is to put account number 140 back up top. It's been a while since we've done posting. And when you do insurance expense, there is nothing in there with the previous balance, so all you have to do is put the date in. You put your post reference of 4. You are debiting at 300 at a previous 0 balance, so I'm going to have a debit balance of 300. And account number 520 goes back up on top. The last one that I'm posting to is prepaid insurance, which is just like insurance, or excuse me, supplies that we did before. It already has a balance, and I'm crediting it 300, so I have to find the difference between 1,200 and 300, and the difference is 900. So then I put account number 150 back up top. That is section 8-1. Like that? Just take what you already learned. You already learned how to do your adjustments, and you're putting it in a journal, and then you're posting it. Yay, I got it perfect.